Hi, I'm Liz Cully, and welcome back to Cool, Cool, Cool. Each week, I give you a glimpse into what I think is cool and chat with a ton of people that are definitely cool. No topic is off bounds unless, I guess, it's not cool. Welcome to Cool, Cool, Cool. I've been really lucky to meet all types of people in this town that are incredibly talented. From songwriters, musicians, writers, costume designers, light designers, grafters, illustrators, you name it, there are so many talented people in Los Angeles. I think when you don't live in LA or New York, or perhaps you might not know anybody that works in the entertainment industry, it can feel sort of like top heavy. We know big name actors, sometimes directors, and a few producers. But really, the heartbeat of this city is maintained by some of the most talented people in the world that you might not know off the bat, or do you? To get the vanity and the obvious out of the way, my friend Eden is literally so hot. She is one of the most attractive people I have ever met in my life. She has like doe-like eyes, bright blonde hair, a rockin' body. She has a beautiful little beauty mark right above her cherubic, pursed lips. Eden looks like she was dreamt up and created to be a like perfect Hollywood glam siren. Literally. She's also incredibly fucking talented. She can write a killer pop song. She can sing like a motherfucker. She can dance. And I love Eden and her story because she is completely self-made, worked her ass off to the top a few times. She's zigzagged through different major labels, indie labels, projects, and she is like a true blue pop star. She also knows everyone and always has very good tea. I just realized the last time we did one of my many weird shows was my like live show, which guess what? That's TikTok.
No.
That's the company of TikTok.
Wow.
ByteDance. Dude, and what's so crazy is you're the only person I see in my TikTok feed every day of my life.
I see you a lot too. I see you all the time.
But I'm like not even on there. You're very good at it. I'm not good.
Girl.
I can't even get an audience on there. Now I've got threads. It's all too much, Eden.
Oh, dude, listen. If I'm making you believe that I'm good on there, like great, I'm doing my job because I just got one 2.5 months ago because I refused for the longest time. Because I was like, I'm not going on there and fucking doing some dumb dance and like what. And everyone's like, no, it's not like that. It's different. It's this and that. And I was like, all right. And then because I was putting music out again and I realized that so much has changed, I had to be on there. And so I literally had to hire, this is like real tea and I don't even care admitting it. I had to hire people to show me how to make TikToks because I was like, how the fuck do I even make a TikTok? I felt so old.
First of all,
I don't even do this.
There's no shame in that. I feel the same way. I'm kind of like, what am I supposed to do on here? This is so much work, but here's some other fun tea. And this no longer happens anymore, which is such a bummer. Do you know for like the last 1.5 years, I was being paid to make white label TikToks for brands?
What?
Of me. Oh, they're the funniest things. One day, maybe I'll like put them on my Patreon. They are psychotic. It was for like video games, HelloFresh, all these weird, and I got paid very well. And
that
I would make
awesome.
I know it doesn't happen. The company folded, which sucks. But I would like have people here and there hit me up and be like, is this you dressed up as like a princess? No, it was like insane. It's like mortifying. Eden, it's terrible. It's like insane. And I'd be like,
like, give me an ad. Give me one.
I mean, what were the lines? No, it would all have to be like,
no, like what kind of brand or something? Like what were you?
No, they were like princess game, like mobile games, like with kings and queens, or there would be like HelloFresh where I made this like weird pizza thing. What was another one? I mean, one of them, the weirdest one, the last one I did was all about, I liked it because obviously you and I are both Chihuahua moms and we are animal lovers. And it was all about this medicine for dogs that like was not like homeopathic, but like ravioli. I mean, no residuals. Look, there she's just passed out in the back. It was so weird. I will send some of a tennis game, which makes sense for me because I love tennis, but it was so unhinged. Rachel was like, these are the funniest, weirdest things you've ever done in your life. And yeah,
Okay.
they're out there.
I love it. I want to see them. And also, you just gave me another little nugget. You play tennis?
I do play tennis, not very well. I have a ball machine. Do you play tennis?
So, kind of.
Does Ryan play tennis?
I want to play tennis. Does Ryan play tennis? No. But I so badly have this fantasy. I have the skirt. I have the racket. I have all the gear. And I really want to find a group of friends where we like get tennis going. And like, I just fucking love it at like when the sun sets and it's like still kind of hot, but there's a little breeze and like.
First of all, I have that crew already. I have.
Can I join?
100%. I even have like group lessons like once a month. Yes. And I live in the burbs and I'm not going to say which part.
I live in the burbs too. I won't say where either.
But I'll tell you obviously after. Yeah, and we have tennis courts everywhere that are open and free all the time. And I have a ball machine, my own ball machine.
Okay. I need to get hit with those balls.
Yeah, girl. I got you.
I love that my lesbian friend is going to hit me with the balls.
Yeah. It's the only balls I've seen in quite some time. Thank God. All day, every day. I'm obsessed. You look like an angel. I love that it's like like your obsession. Like it's so interesting. I think we all sometimes forget about like the love infatuation we can feel for like characters or celebrities. And I love that like that comes out. You talk about masturbation in that song, which I love.
Yeah.
Dreaming with my hands. I heard it. I saw somewhere that you said that you had written that song like 10 years ago. Is that right? Did I read that right?
I wrote and recorded it. That's the same vocal from a decade ago.
Really?
Yeah. It's just a different bridge. I wrote a new bridge. That's the only new vocal. I didn't like the bridge that was there before. I wrote and recorded it in a castle in France at an ASCAP songwriting retreat a decade ago.
What a flex.
And I had it. And I was telling everyone, I'm like, I had this whole other separate body of work when I was on 2 labels. I went through 2 labels with that gem of a song. And I was like, I think this is the single. Like, this is a hit. And everyone was kind of like, me. The first questions they always ask, which I find really fucking annoying, is they're always like, who produced it? Who'd you write it with? And if you don't say someone who's like in the charts right then, so many executives will just like pass it up because they're not creative. They don't listen to the actual song. They just want to see like who's charting right now. So the irony about the whole thing was like those people at the time, the people that I worked with, okay, I wrote it with Jesse Shack. Well, Jesse Shack produced it. Yes. And co-wrote it. And I co-wrote it with Mozella. And at the time she was in she's spoken about this, so I don't feel like I'm blowing up her spot by saying it, but she was in like a pretty hard spot mentally, financially, like all of it. And she had just gone through a very painful breakup. She was supposed to marry the guy and he like literally called off the wedding. It was like a whole thing. And she wrote a little song called Wrecking Ball. And
just a small one. Just a small little song called Wrecking Ball. Yes.
Yeah. So, she went on, she got her number 1. And then Jesse produced Chandelier for Sia. Yeah.
Another small
So
one.
I'm ready to get my number 1 because I remember explaining this to people and being like, I don't care who I wrote. This is so good. And these people are so talented. And like, if you believe in me, you'll listen to me. And like, and it doesn't matter. They don't fucking listen to you. And then cut to like, those are 2 of the biggest songs of the last decade. And that's who I wrote that song with a decade ago in a castle in France. Yeah.
Wow. So. And they were in the castle in France with you, I'm assuming?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who else was in that castle in France?
A lot of cool people. Mr. Hudson. Do you know who that is?
Who's that?
So I knew who he was because I lived in England, which I know you lived in England. I'm listening to
ago.
Cool.
Wow, you were really listening to my God, my diary entry.
Good.
Well, you're on it right now.
Oh my God. Mr. Hudson, he's dope. He's collabed with like Jay-Z and like he's another cool, like he's fucking cool. British singer. Producer wise, I would say Jesse, who ended up doing Chandelier, is probably the biggest. No, actually there's just a lot of people. This Nashville guy who's done a bunch of Carrie Underwood shit and like a lot of cool people. And then this guy named Gary Go who did the Skrillex you are, da-da-da-da. I can't think of
Oh,
the
yeah,
lyric.
yeah, yeah.
You are cinema. I could watch you forever. That
Yep.
guy. Just cool people. It was like, I don't think they do it anymore, but they did it every year and they would do like X amount of artists. I think it was like 5 artists, five. So I was in the artist category, 5 songwriters, and then 5 producers. No, there's more than 15 of us. There's like 20 of us. Oh, Dan Nigro. How about that? He went on, he couldn't get arrested. Congrats, Dan Nigro. He couldn't get arrested until literally last year when he co-wrote and co-produced the entire Olivia Rodrigo album.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
That's the
and
thing. I mean, that's what doesn't make any sense to me. It does. Let me back up. I think it has, there's like a timing element. There's the right artist element. There's a lot of things, like to your point, it's like, well, those two people made literally some of the biggest songs ever. Some of the biggest syncs, the Wrecking Ball, I would say arguably, while obviously Miley was very famous before, I think it like made her as a who she is today. So it's like,
I would agree with that. It changed the trajectory of her career to like one that was a bit more, well, I know for a fact, because in England, again, I sat in on a sound check for her during like a Hannah Montana tour because my friend was her backup singer. And I remember being blown away and I remember coming in with a certain vibe, judgy. I'll just be honest. I was like, a fucking Disney.
yeah.
And then I was watching her sound check and I was like, this bitch can fucking sing. And I was like, it was like me and like one other person in this like auditorium. God, I'm tired. Amphitheater. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, she's really good. But then I think it got overshadowed by a lot of like public antics and whatever. And then I agree with you. I think Wrecking Ball was the moment when everyone kind of went and like looked at her with a new lens, and it just made, I don't know, she made a lot more fans that way and was able to do different types of records. And I think she's brilliant, but that song definitely helped her a lot.
Yeah. So
the demo's amazing, by the way. I have Mozilla's demo. It's
whoa, that's tight. That's very tight. So you release the song 10 years later and independent. The video's incredible. I was saying this to you before we started to record. I love all your videos. They're always like a good, fun time. They give me like real music video vibes.
That's the best compliment.
Like a real, like the ones you like race home to watch after school. What was your concept? Like, how'd you come up with? Because I even saw on TikTok, like all the hair and makeup, the different looks. I love the pearls on the face. Like you really went for it.
Well, thank you. I came up with the concept really is like, I'm super visual and making videos is one of my favorite things. I was saying to you before we started, for this record, for Too Cool to Dance, that's the only time I ever had a big budget with a label. They spent like, I'm going to be gross and just tell you, but I feel like I remember it was like 110 grand for that video. And I was like, and it's all right. Like I had notes the whole time. I thought the director was a little bit of a bitch. Don't care if you hear this. And I was just like, what people don't realize is you have to pay that money back. So you don't want to spend 110 grand on your music video because then you're already 110 grand in the hole. So I was always like, no, give me like 5 to 10 grand and I will go make a way better music video, and which I had been doing for years and years. And so I would like to think that I'm like sort of a director at this point. I mean, I work with a great team of people who I trust. I'm also very loyal because I think loyalty is something that is really hard to find in this town. And so I think that helps me because when I have budgets, I call the same people. When I don't, I call the same people and they're always there for me. So that's also how I'm able to do some of it. But the concept came to me, I really love old Hollywood, and my mind was blown because I've always loved the visual, that image of from Creature of the Black Lagoon where he's
Hmm.
carrying her out of the fucking swamp, and And did you know that was the first 3D movie ever made?
No, that's
Yeah,
cool.
in theaters in the 50s, people wore like the 3D, and then it didn't work. It was kind of a flop, and everyone was like, meh. And then Michael Jackson like made 3D cool again. And I don't know, it was just interesting to me. So my vibe was like Creature of the Black Lagoon meets like those German films from the 20s, which I believe the style is called expressionism, German expressionism. That's more about the lighting and like the harsh shadows and
Yeah.
stuff, meets like 90s club kid, like in my bedroom, like you were talking
Yeah.
about, like being obsessed with this, like, this ubiquitous Justin Timberlake on the wall, or whoever the fuck it is that you like think you're gonna marry one day. And like, but for
Jonathan
me, I
Taylor
was like, how
Thomas.
boring would it be if it's just like a guy? Like, how about I'm in love with like, like a sea monster? What did you say that
I
I
said
missed?
Jonathan, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, but I was kidding.
JTT. I was in the Leo Lovers Club,
Stop.
Titanic.
How do you feel about that now? Because he's kind of like, he's kind of jumped the shark for me a little. The fact that he dates those girls that are just so young, I can't. I'm like, dude, you're kind of the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
And he's
That's
not very
weird.
hot anymore. Hate to say it.
I do you know what it is? It's like he's a movie star.
Fair
So
enough.
I feel like he's always hot.
Yeah.
But
Fine.
if I thought about it long enough, I suppose I would vomit over the fact that he dates like 10-year-olds.
Yeah, it's like super gnarly. It's just like, I mean, listen, Camilla Morone, I think that's how you say her name, is
Mhm.
stunning. So I get
Done.
it. But she
Done.
was like 19. I was like, dude, that's
It's
not it.
weird. It's weird. I think it's weird when guys like want women to not have pubes. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm not like a little like boy, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, I'm a woman. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
But I think you've always taken really interesting risks, whether it's like in you as a solo artist, as Eden XO, but then also Jesse and the Toy Boys is genius.
oh, thanks.
Like it's so out there. So what I'm referring to, if you don't know, Jessica. I never call you Jesse or Jessica, should I? And
No,
not
nobody
Eden?
calls me that. Eden's my middle name.
No, I know, but I just
Mhm.
didn't know. Anyway,
No, nobody calls me that.
because I'm like, oh my God, have I been like weird this whole time?
No,
Okay.
no. It would
So,
be weird if you called me that, to be
okay. So
honest.
Jesse and the or the Toy Boys was
Mhm.
your first project, right? Kind
No,
of.
it's
No,
my third.
she's a vet. Okay, your third project. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like that's when you went on tour with Nikki and Britney Spears, which we'll get to, Femme Fatale, which is I would say probably one of the most iconic tours of
Did
the
you come to
last.
that tour?
No, but I just know it because you were
That
in
would have
it.
been so fun if you came.
Oh, I would have really had a lot more to talk about, but I didn't. So that's fine. But you didn't even have. So I was like, oh, yeah, I remember she was in that band. And then I like looked it up. I'm like, wait, no, they were fucking mannequins.
Yeah.
So you were a solo artist, but just
Yeah.
with mannequins. How was pitching that to like a label?
I didn't have to. I just did it. I wasn't on a label. I was independent. I got that tour as an indie artist, which
How
is
did you get that
unreal.
tour?
My agent really believed in me. John Marks, still my agent to this day at WME, shout out. And John has this ability to, I mean, literally, I don't know why he's still my agent. Thank you, John. Because other than me, he picks fucking winners. I mean, he signed Gaga and really elevated her career. Like, first thing he did was put her as the opening act for the Pussycat Dolls tour. He signed Bruno Mars. He's still Bruno's agent. He was Gaga's agent forever until she made I can't think of that movie with Bradley Cooper. Mom brain's a real thing. Like if any moms are listening, I'm still in the mom brain zone.
All of the listeners are moms, so they get
Okay,
it.
great.
Yes.
They get it. So she went to CAA after that, which whatever.
Yeah, with her like creepy dude that she dated.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
John was her agent forever, and then The Weeknd. He's The Weeknd's. I mean, he just picks. So I was pretty honored. He was my agent, or is my agent, and it's like don't ask, don't get. I remember being like, I want to open up for Britney Spears, and my manager at the time, who I love, and we're still friends to this day. He's also like me. He's like, anything's fucking possible. Why not? Why not? Like if you don't, if you don't put it out there, how are you going to, whatever, that's step one. So me and him were like, yeah, I'm getting this tour. We just lived in that space. Meanwhile, like the whole town wanted that slot, And
yeah, it's Britney Spears and Nicki Minaj at a time when that sort of like those like women, it was really that time, that femme fatale tour. I mean, it was just the time that they were billing. I think I don't see it done as much anymore with like two real like co-headliners like that. I mean, Nikki was still, I don't think Nikki was where she is now, but still like that's a double headline tour. That's crazy.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And it was awesome too because I got 20 minutes, which a lot of openers don't get that much time.
Wow.
So I got 20 minutes. And then in certain cities, I was doing so well on the tour, which was like just a dream come true, that Nikki couldn't do a couple places in Florida. And originally they were going to fly in Jordan Sparks to fill in her spot. And I was crushing it so hard that Britney's management and Britney and everybody at the time were like, do you want to just do like a 40-minute set? And I was like, yeah. And so I played, I was the sole opener for Fort Lauderdale, not Miami. She was there for Miami. We did a bunch of places in Florida. Anything besides Miami and Florida, I opened. Nikki couldn't be there. She was with Sean Kingston in like Jamaica or some shit. And then,
oh my God, Sean Kingston. You know what's a trip?
Throwback names.
Wait, you know what's so throwback is my friend Chris Turner was Sean Kingston's backup singer for that whole time, and they all got robbed on their tour bus. Do you remember that? Yeah. Shout out to Chris if you're listening. Yeah, Chris and I went to the new school together, Jazz Contemporary School, and he was there. He was great. He's an amazing singer from Oakland. He's beautiful. Beautiful voice.
I didn't know you went to Jazz Contemporary School.
They kicked my ass out because I couldn't read music. But that was the end of that. Yeah, no kidding, Eden. You don't know any of these things. Do you think I'm telling like you and Bonnie McKee and all my other fucking major pop star writing crazy friends that I can sing? I keep that shit to my motherfucking self. I came to LA, was acting, singing a little, and then speaking of things, they were just like, you're fat, you're fat, you're fat. Can't book you. We can't book you. You're fat. You have to lose weight. You have to lose weight. And I just couldn't. I'm like, dude, this is how my body is shaped. Yeah, that was a wild time. But yeah, I'm not telling you guys I can sing. You guys are pop stars. You're on tour with fucking Britney Spears and Nicki Minaj and doing songs with like people from No Doubt and fucking who else? Little John. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like, get out of here. Also,
okay, well, I want to hear you sing. I'm going to make
I'll sing privately. On the tennis court. Okay. On the tennis court. Could you imagine?
Oh my God, yes.
How weird.
That'd be amazing. I would love that.
Actually, also, if you do a tennis...
I can completely imagine you as an amazing actress without seeing your work. That's very obvious.
I couldn't... Well, thank you. What a time. What a time to be alive. Wait, but did you hang out with Britney? This is what we really want to know. We need to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Was she with Kevin Federline at that time?
No, she was dating her agent at WME.
Oh, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. That was like later, the white dude, but he dates everyone.
Yeah. And he had long hair, like that guy. I can't think of his name. He had to quit the agency because he was dating her. And then he was like, he was just like on the road with us. Like
so weird.
A lot of cities. It was kind of random.
Was she cool?
She's the coolest. Nikki's fucking beyond the coolest. Well, I love Nikki to like so much. Nikki was nothing but hilarious and cool as fuck to me. However, some people would throw around like, oh, Nikki was kind of a diva, whatever. To me, I just call bullshit because again, like if Nikki was a man, they wouldn't use that word. It's not, I don't think she's not the times I saw her kind of lose her chill was just in regard to her show. Like if something was off or wrong or like she'd stop rehearsal and whatever and be like, where is this? Why isn't this working? What? Right. Because she cared about putting on a really good show. That to me a diva, a bitch, an asshole make. It's just someone who cares about their show. I mean, you can go watch Truth or Dare. Madonna, she does the same thing. She stops and she's like, I remember there's like a moment in Truth or Dare where she's like, why can't I hear my voice? Somebody's getting fired. Like the whole thing. And it's like, well, yeah, it's gotta like, so I loved both of them. Britney, I spent less time with. Now we all kind of know why.
Right.
Because I will say, like, they never left her really alone. Like someone was always around. And I did think like, oh, well, she's Britney Spears. Like, of course someone's always around, you know? Like I didn't think twice about it until stuff started coming out. And I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of weird. And like little things were clicking into place for me. But cool as fuck, really good mom. I don't like the way that this whole thing's been twisted on her by K-Fed of like being a bad mom, because I witnessed her being an extraordinary mother. Her boys were on the road with us a lot. Her creepy fucking dad was there a lot.
Worst.
He gave me the creeps immediately. I never met him officially. I never shook his hand, nothing. Felicia, who's in the Baby One More Time video, she was on that tour, and what a fucking angel woman she is. She really loves Britney and has her best interest, and like she would do the fan like this VIP like tours for them and the meet and greets, and like so I would always be like sound checking or whatever, and they'd come around and watch my sound check, and they'd like, it was so much fun. But like Britney, I mean, I wish it was the kind of thing where we all like got on Britney's bus and ate popcorn and watched movies together. Her team didn't make it for that type of environment. Yeah. I had much more moments like that with Nikki, because Nikki wasn't like, you know, being controlled by her father on the tour. So yes, I hung out with Britney. I love her. I adore her. You know, I saw her every day for 3-4 months. It was a long tour. That's the other thing. They scheduled it out. They had these like mandatory off days for her. So therefore we had off days, which is like not financially, like doesn't make the most sense. But for me, it was great because I had to pay for my bus. I had no label. So on those off days, I would book predominantly like Pride Fests. I would go play gay clubs. I'd go whatever I could do to then take that money and put it back into the whole. I mean, like I pretty much broke even by the end of it because I wasn't making that much as the opener. And it's expensive every day with a bus driver like that. The gas alone, it's like fucking great. It's thousands of dollars a day.
That's
and so
crazy.
Because they made her have these mandatory off days, you're just burning through a lot of your resources when you're a no major label indie artist like myself. So,
was this when you did Dinah Shore?
I did Dinah Shore before I got the tour.
I've never been to Dinah Shore.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. It's really fun being a straight girl there too.
I bet.
I feel like you just, I don't know, like I had this like I don't know if like, I don't know, you would know better than me, but like, I don't know, it felt like almost like a novelty to everybody. So it was like,
first of all,
fun.
Everybody thinks I'm straight all the time, so I get it. Also, I don't know. I talk about it a lot on this show. I talked about it on my last show. I just am like, oh, it feels scary and overwhelming to me. But what do I know? I'm also like a total brat, and I refuse to go unless I'm like invited and have red carpet, everything.
Oh, well, we can sort that out. You help me with tennis. We'll go to Dinah Shore.
Oh my God, great.
VIP.
So into it. So, all right. So Jessie and the why did you decide to kind of rename yourself, but use your middle name? Like, why did you make that decision to stop doing Jessie and the Toy Boys and just go Eden? And then
so I didn't. It was kind of made for me. I thought that, okay, so we're going to travel back in time. Now we're like so I did the tour in 2011. Instagram, I had Instagram. It had come out on the road, but I used it for its filter capabilities.
Oh yeah.
To then like tweet it, right? Like I didn't know what Instagram was. So there's a couple things where the timing wasn't so great for me. Number one, being an independent artist with that massive of a platform where I was truly crushing it and earning fans in real life. Like people were like, that opening act, like, fuck, I wasn't going to watch, but oh my God, you sucked me in. I'm a fan. I was selling well, like all that. What I couldn't do is I couldn't get on the radio because the major labels dominated the radio. And they didn't like the fact that I was independent because I had a couple offers, which we declined politely because I was like, I don't fucking need this because I had been signed before to, which I'll just, why would you know this? There's no reason why you would know this.
Tell
But my
me.
first project was a punk band called Shut Up Stella.
I
We
love
were
it.
three girls. Yeah. Actually, do you know
Fan who?
Fan Lori? She,
Oh,
just thought
no,
you
but
might.
it sounds familiar. No, I don't.
Okay. Well, so Shut Up Stella. So Fan is gay, and we're three girls, and Kristen was the other band member in our band, and Fan was in love with Kristen, and it got to be a thing where it was kind of like two against one a lot,
Mm,
and I was just like, this sucks. I was always left out. They're always sharing like hotels and whatever. But we were signed to Epic Records when I was 17 years old, so I had already been through that major label system and I was like, fuck this. So when I did Jesse and the Toy Boys, because I love Madonna so much, and I had this idea with the mannequins and I had the poster of Madonna with the belt that says boy toy, I just flipped it. And I had this whole like conceptual. I also love Gem and the Holograms, the cartoon.
duh.
And my initials are Gem, Jessica Eden Malakuti. So a lot of people called me Gem. So I was like, Gem and the Holograms. It's like this and that. And like, whatever. That's kind of how it came together. But so at this time, I didn't have like, first of all, I never played the game. I hated social media. I still hate it. Still don't play the game. And I remember going into like meetings and them being like, okay, we need you to like, if you see like a Ferrari, we need you to like lean on it and be like, new car. And like, I'm not doing that. And it's so funny because this company was also working with Jeffree Star, who,
Oh, God.
I know, who he was playing the game and doing all that bullshit. I mean, and he, but I'd rather not do it that way personally. So, point of all this, to answer your question, is that in some people's eyes, Jesse and the Toy Boys was like a flop because I wasn't on the radio. So I thought that was crazy. I think people they still don't. They don't give artists enough time to like, it's like we're these little buds and they're just like bloom, 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 and you're going, right? But like, it's not fast enough for them. And so what had happened was when I had the interest of Virgin Records and when I had the wherewithal to realize like, I'm never getting on the fucking radio because Spotify didn't exist, right? It would have been a whole
Right.
different game. So I'm like, I'm never getting on the radio if I don't fucking fold and sign to one of these labels. So I did again. And right away, I had someone who will remain nameless who told me that Jesse and the Toy Boys was a flop and we needed to rebrand. And I was like, I mean, I walk around West Hollywood and like people like know me and they're like, that's so cute. Like, like West Hollywood, like we're thinking bigger and that and whatever. They literally had me in a room and were like, you need to be the next Katy Perry. And I just remember being like,
God.
and they were talking pretty like disparagingly about her. They were saying like, some just ageist. We're not even that like it's just crazy.
Because wasn't she on Epic first?
She was on Columbia. We have a similar trajectory. She was on Columbia.
She was on Epic.
Same company, same parent company.
It is because
Columbia Epic.
Well, because I remember, I mean, I knew I will also keep him nameless because I actually adore him so much. And I worked for his wife for a long time. But an exec there, an A&R who was I believe he was at Epic forever. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, he was like, dude, poor Katy Perry would come into our office. They just treated her like shit. And
yeah,
same thing as me. You have to lose weight because Katy Perry is not like a tiny. I've met her, like you've met her. She's small, like boned, but she's not like. She's like me. She's like curvy. She has beautiful tits. She's great ass. She's beautiful like tits. Beautiful, like crazy hot tits,
and they're real. They're real.
Yeah. But like they were awful to her. And look, she's like a major star. And you and I share a mutual friend, Bonnie McKee, who wrote like low key almost all of her hit songs. I mean, it's like such a crazy. Okay, so they were like, we have to rebrand you. And you were like, fuck, okay, fine. And then you were like, Eden.
Well, no, the first thing I said is I was like, well, why don't I just be like, because they didn't like the whole Toy Boy concept. They were like, it's confusing for people because it's not really a band. And I was like, I've always been just more indie in my soul. So I've always been like, I think that's cool. It's cool that, and they're like, no. We need like, it needs to be like, just a pop star name. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, why can't I just, okay, well, what about like Jessie Malakuti, which was my last name? And this person says to me, it's too ethnic.
Oh God.
And I was like, And by the way, this was 2014. That's not that long ago. And I was like, it's too ethnic. And they're like, yeah, people in like middle America and in the South, like they're not going to be able to like pronounce your name. And I was like, in my head, I thought, Aguilera, like you teach people and they'll learn it. Like, but I was like, okay. And so then they came up with all these fucking stupid names. It was like Trixie and like just stuff that I was like, no. And one day I was like, what about my middle name's Eden? And literally everyone was like, what? And like no one knew. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why the fuck aren't you going by that? And I was kind of like, I don't know. It's a way better name. But so I just wanted it to be just Eden. But then I hate this person. I'll say his name. I don't care. I don't hate him because I don't wish him harm, but I strongly dislike this person. His name's Steve Barnett, and he was CEO of Capitol Music Group at the time that I was signed there. He's not a music person. I don't know why he was running a music company. And he got sued when he was at Columbia. He dropped Katy Perry, full fucking circle. He got sued when he was at Columbia because of One Direction, because there was another group with like the number one. And so when I just wanted it to just be Eden, they were concerned that it wasn't like Googleable enough, like on its own, or like there was like this bean company and then there was porn. By the way, that Scooter Braun, okay, after they dropped me, they signed this kid, not kid, he's not a kid, he's literally older than me. I don't know his name. It's like something Nguyen, like the Nguyen. His name is not Eden. It's not on his birth certificate, nothing. And he had a song called XO. And Scooter Braun started managing him. And Steve Barnett allowed him to be Eden, just Eden, same label. Now, if that's not brand confusion, I don't fucking know what is. And it crushed me because everyone would be like commenting on my shit and they'd be like, this isn't Eden's X. This is the wrong Eden. Because they put the whole machine behind him because Scooter Braun. And I just found it so like, it just broke my heart because I didn't want to add the XO. I'm sorry, I'm skipping around because I was like, I don't want to add anything. And they were like, you have to, or they're literally holding your single hostage and it's not going to come out. And it was like on the schedule, which was impossible to get. And I was like,
and was this Too Cool to Dance?
It was Too Cool to Dance. And by the way, I wanted All Day Every Day to be my first single. And I was like, all right. And so I had written Too Cool to Dance to pitch for Kylie Minogue. It wasn't even something I was that attached to, but I was like, okay. And so finally, Jelly, rest in peace, who has a major hand in Katy's career. If anybody's seen the Katy Perry movie, the documentary, she's the executive who was formerly at Columbia, who stole the files and brought them over to Capitol. Jelly was like, Eden, why don't you just like, you sign all your emails with XO, you're always doodling XO. Like, why don't we just add that? We'll make it really small in the font. And when you're doing like radio and press, you don't have to say it. Just be like, what's up? It's Eden. You're listening to my, kind of coaching me through it and convincing me. And I was like, fine. I was like, okay. And so in my first logo, which they changed, it was like in the E and really small. And like little by little, they just made me start saying the XO. And I felt that it does feel really young to me. It's not evergreen. It bugs me to this day, but now it's like, it's too late. Like, I don't want to rebrand for like the fifth time. So, I
never think of it though. It's so funny. Well, because also your husband is Thank You X.
Random.
Which is random. And I'm like, yeah. So I kind of like love it in that way that you and Ryan are like samesies, but not, which is Eden's husband is an incredible artist. And you guys are just like the hottest couple that has pretty much ever existed, I think, ever, potentially.
God,
it's really wild. Also, isn't he in that? Wait, which video? He's in one of your videos, like as your love interest on a skateboard.
He's in Too Cool to Dance because the actor didn't show up.
Oh my God, classic. I was like, was it the other one? Well, because then, so you do Too Cool for Dance, which all of you guys should Google. You will know the song. You had so many syncs with I felt like that song was like, it's the most syncable song. I mean, yeah. And so I think it's actually an interesting time to ask you about syncs, because then you had The Weeknd, which was after that song, right? After Too Cool. And that was great because you have like all my friends in your music, Molly and Bonnie, and you guys were like sexy. You guys wore like Disney princess Halloween costumes. It was really, really cute. Super into it. Talk to me about like, because your music is like pure amazing, timeless, like pop music. Like real pop music is so fucking hard. I think it's like some of the hardest music to write, create, because it has to be like literal. It has to like almost make you obsessively listen. And like you want to just like keep listening because it's pop music. Talk to me about syncs. Like, because I think with the strike right now, people are like, oh my God, why is SAG striking? And why is WGA striking? And it's like, for them, it's residuals, right? Like a big issue is the streaming residuals. A lot of actors, writers are like, what the fuck? This is being streamed a bajillion times on streamers and I'm not seeing any of the revenue. Are syncs something that like really help artists, or is it just not?
Tremendously.
Okay.
Case in point, Lizzo. Lizzo was going to be dropped. This is just real tea. I know this for a fact. She wants to deny it and spin her thing. I don't really know. I don't follow like what she says in the media, but this is just facts. Lizzo was going to be dropped, which, what a shame. Can you imagine if they did that? Like, Lizzo's amazing. So she was going to be dropped and she got a sync in a Netflix movie of a older record she had done, which was Truth Hurts. So Truth Hurts is in a Tiffany Haddish scene of some movie that was like wildly popular. Netflix pushed it. And so everyone heard the song because all she needed was like a chance. Like they just didn't, she hadn't found her audience yet. But again, the rose bloom, they just wanted her to bloom faster. They just want everything so fast, these fucking labels. They're like, if it's not a hit tomorrow, it's a failure. And it's like, dude, you know, and TikTok's, you know, bite dance, you know, fucking your shit that you were early on is kind of showing everyone like, I mean, look what happened to Kate Bush.
I mean,
like,
the Kate Bush thing is insane. Like,
yeah,
truly
or like Fleetwood
insane.
Mac, or like, it's like, you got to give some things some time sometimes. So yes, syncs matter tremendously. Lizzo getting that sync saved her career. Then they repackaged the album because I believe, I'm not 100 on this fact, I'd have to look it up. I want to say Truth Hurts wasn't even on the album that they made.
You're right.
Yeah.
And I only know this because a very, very close friend of mine has been YouTube, like her company. We worked at MySpace together. Remember those days with me?
I sure do. That's how I first got discovered, is MySpace.
Yes. It's how like everybody got to. That's why it was like the best job I've ever had, because everyone would say yes to me. No one would say no. All artists were like, yeah, fuck yeah, MySpace. And I'd be like, yeah fuck yeah. No, it wasn't on the album because it was such an old song. And you're right, because my friend Lindsay Fell, who's amazing.
Yeah.
She was like early days working with Lizzo's team. And I remember I went to like a really small show in the kind of when she started to hit, or like they gave her the second chance. And she said it. She's like, dude, this song is so fucking old. Like they repackaged the whole thing and put Truth Hurts on it.
They repackaged it and based it around that as the lead single. And then everything else like blew up. And thank God, because I think she's an incredible artist. She plays the fucking flute. She's a flautist.
She's great.
Like, come on, guys. And then
gives me a little bit of Kids Bop vibes, though. I have to be
playing
the whole Lizzo. Listen, for me, it's fine. Like, of course, like I was in Pilates this morning. Truth Hurts comes on. I'm going to sing along, but I'm not like putting Lizzo on. If I'm being honest, I have to be honest.
That's fine. And look, I see that actually. I could see that and hear that.
I'm kind of like, okay.
My song Too Cool to Dance gives me Kids Bop vibes sometimes.
Too Cool to Dance does give me Kids Bop vibes a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. What's the biggest sync you got with that song?
The biggest sync I got was with this whole movement, which was National Dance Day. And it was, so the song was synced on So You Think You Can Dance, but it was more than that. It was a campaign for Fox. Yeah. Because it was one of the two songs chosen. It was chosen for the beginner's routine. So every year for like the Dizzy Feet Foundation and whatever, they would choose like two records, and the judges would choreograph a hard routine and an easy routine. And then like kids around North America would learn it and go to these conventions. And I don't fucking know what they win at the end of the day.
That's crazy. Did you watch like thousands of little kids dancing to your song?
I did at all these dance conventions. And then I went on stage with Nigel Lithgow in LA for the LA one. And we taught it to them, even though they already knew it. They watched it on YouTube and we were teaching it. And the judge on So You Think You, it was like, that was probably the biggest because it was tied into a whole movement. I mean, back to the real tea. I mean, this is what's crazy. I mean, do you even know why I got dropped
No.
or no? So the song was really successful. It was actually selling over 4,000 copies a week when nobody was even buying music. And it had all these syncs, and it was Christmas time, and they had given me a shoestring budget, like nothing. They wouldn't even pay for hair and makeup when I was doing like radio shows that were like big shows. I just like, it was so crazy. Like literally my manager was loaning, and I had no money, because what people don't realize is like, okay, like I'll just tell you, my advance for that deal was 25 grand.
Dude.
I'm supposed to live on that for like years before I'm seeing any of the money that's returned after they're spending like 110 on the video and all this bullshit, right? So when I'd ask for like $200 to go get like dry bar and a makeup artist, it was like, no. And I'm like, cool. So my own manager was literally like paying for shit. So at Christmas time, I cracked the top 40. I shook every hand, kissed every baby, did everything they asked me to. You're playing at this show. And some of these stages, it would be like literally dangerous. It would be like a plank, like I'm walking the plank in Peter Pan, and I'm like dancing my ass off and performing. And then there's like drinks and hair, like it's a mess, you know? And like I'm in like Virginia, in like the most random like coal mining town. Like it was I did it all. One day I got on like, how many, like 5 planes. I ended up in Atlanta at the end, and I truly thought I was going to die. Like they worked me and I worked it. And I was 31 on the charts with a bullet, and I was doing Today's Show, and it was all going. And then Steve Barnett hated my A&R, Ron Fair, the legend, the man who signed Christina Aguilera, amongst many other amazing acts, hated each other like this. And he fires Ron. I don't exactly know what happened. I know a big fight ensued and words were exchanged. Ron's fired. Drops all of Ron's acts except me, because he can't drop me because he can't justify to like the heads of UMG that he's dropping an artist who's literally in the top 40 at that moment. So they moved me to Capitol proper, gave me a whole new team, and pulled my song from radio. Yeah. So they didn't think it was a hit and that it had done all it's going to do. Meanwhile, it's 31 with a bullet at Christmas time, the hardest time to get a new song in the charts, because Christmas music eats up a lot of those slots. And they dropped me. I made The Weeknd Independently the video because they wouldn't make a video. And so I was like, fuck you, I'm making this music video myself. That was filmed in my manager's office on a weekend. We just took all the furniture out. And I premiered it on the Snap channel, and they didn't even know what that was. Like the marketing people were like, what's the Snap channel? And I was the second artist to do that after Madonna, because Evan Spiegel was a fan. All craziness, I know. And they were like, well, you violated UMG policy by premiering this on the Snap channel. Meanwhile, I was already dead in the water. I already knew it. And then they dropped me. I mean, who pulls a hit song from radio? Just talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. That's when I gave up on the labels. I was like, this is not the way to win. Like, it's not.
Would you ever sign with a label again? Ever? I mean, I guess you shouldn't say never, never say never, but.
Yeah, it would have to be a very attractive deal, because I skipped over because it's boring. I don't want to get into it. I've had 3 major label deals, 3. And I've had 3 pretty large indie deals, pretty big indie labels. If I signed to a major label again, or any label for that matter, I would have to get a lot of fucking money up front. And then I would have to be told, do whatever you want. We're going to leave you alone. And when you're ready, let us know. If those were the terms, yeah. Anything other than that, it's not worth it. I'm not making, because to your point about syncs, once I was off the label, the first thing I did, so hopefully this is inspiring to someone and I'm not just talking too much, but so I get a call from business affairs when I'm getting dropped. I already knew I was getting dropped. I was like, I've seen this story so many times. Just, I already knew the writing was on the wall. And the reason I knew is I was supposed to do the DC tree lighting with Meghan Trainor. And they called me and they were like, hey, you're coming home. And I was like, why? And they were like, oh, like they all just tried to lie to me and spare my feelings and let me have a good Christmas. But meanwhile, I was like, come January, they're dropping me. I just know it. And that's exactly what happened. And when Business Affairs called me, she was a woman. She is a woman. She was like, yeah, I'm really sorry. We just, we spent so much money and we tried. It's just bullshit. Just carrying out her marching orders. And she's like, if there's anything you need, let me know. And it was the first time I spoke up for myself. I was like, there is something I need. And she's like, oh, like that was weird for her. She's like, okay, what? And I was like, well, what are you doing with all the music? And she's like, well, it's expensive to make. And I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing with it? Are you going to put it out? No. So what are you doing with it? Can you give it back to me? She's like, well, that's not really how it works. Like, da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, well, can it work like that? This is what I'm asking you for. This is what I need. If you're going to drop me, can you give me back the songs I recorded under this contract? Because I'm going to do something with them. I got them back. Pretty unheard of. And the next month, I got a sync in Scream Queens in the scene where Ariana Grande dies. And I made more money on that sync than my entire advance. And that's when I realized, why would I ever be on a major label again? Unless like those terms I said earlier, like why? So.
Well, first of all, I'm obsessed with that. I love it because it's so, obviously Taylor Swift, after Scooter bought all of her music, she went and re-recorded it. Our friend Bonnie re-recording.
I love Bonnie for doing it too. Go Bonnie.
I fucking Bonnie McKee, the best. Bonnie's re-recording all of her shit, which I love.
I love it.
So hits. Awesome. Hit. They're all, I mean, it's fucking Bonnie. It's like hits on hits on hits on hits.
Hits on hits.
Bonnie is very good at TikTok.
She's so good at TikTok. I know. I need her to get
It's so annoying, actually. I didn't go to her 4th of July. Speaking of, well, because I think that's actually the last time I saw you was at the Halloween party.
It was the last time I saw you out front, and you guys were dressed as like the Great American Baking or something. And I didn't even know the show.
Nobody did.
No, you were early. We were so early. Biggest thing.
It was so funny. We looked so fucking stupid at that party. I was like, and we just had gotten married. We were so exhausted. I was like the thinnest I will ever be for the rest of my life. And
you look great.
Thank you. And Simon, oh my God, what's his last name? Simon from fucking MTV.
Oh, Simon Rex. Yeah.
Simon Rex.
Dirt
Nasty. That's right. I was like, what's Simon's last name? Anyway, Simon, who I know, we were in the kitchen and he was like, why are you dressed as an old lady? And I was like, dude, I don't fucking know. We thought this was funny. He was just like, you look nuts. I'm like, I can't. Bonnie, and then she was dressed as like a beautiful cyborg. It's too much. The stakes are too high at that Halloween party. She's so lovely. Please keep inviting me, Bonnie, but I can't. It's like the 4th of July party's too much. It's all too much. I'm getting old and like anxious. And I'm like, who the fuck are all these cool people? Why is everybody like hot and in a bathing suit? And I can't deal. But yes, that is the last time.
I didn't go to 4th of July this year either. I wasn't in town, but secretly, like, don't be mad, Bon. I didn't want to go because of those same reasons. I didn't want to go be in a bikini and I don't know, being a mom. I don't know. I just feel, yeah, I feel you. Also, like people, yeah, I could go off on a whole thing. Yeah.
I know I can't, but I love you, Bonnie, for life, literally.
I love Bonnie for life too, but yeah, I don't want to. Yeah,
but I can't go to those parties anymore. I'm like,
but your costume was amazing. You committed.
I'm really committed. I've had some good Bonnie McKee Halloween costumes. Were you at the one where Rachel and I were Elvis and Priscilla? That was good.
Yes, it was. Is that the one where Bonnie and Darren were?
Yes.
Sharon Tate and Charles Manson. Yeah, I remember your costume. It was so good.
It was sick. That was a good one too. And then one time we went in as Lucius, Lion, and Cookie from Empire. That was kind of
my God,
we have had good ones, and so have you. But I sidetrack. Owning the masters, owning the music, owning your things. I think, listen, when I left MySpace, I had that show Getting Nailed. Remember about nail art that Bonnie was on, and I asked for my show. And I ended up selling that show. I mean, it got shelved a bajillion times. That's why I love like you.
Good for you though. I didn't know that you did that.
Oh yeah. I was like, can I have this? And they were like, same exact thing. They're like, no. And I'm like, but can I? And I literally do. I own it. I mean, I could do whatever I want with it now, but I would never not do that again. And I think like, listen, I mean, I got offered kind of okay money for Amber Rose, Do You Die, to host the show. And I said no. I was like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. I would rather see it die in my closet, like in the hill that I've fucking built than watch Amber Rose like take something that I had to fight so hard for. And I think like, you know, you getting your song, I think I love that especially female artists are talking about it more and more, and that like people that aren't in our industry understand what residuals and syncs and masters are, because I think we have to support, like all of us, we have to support each other. Eden and I go on to talk about her favorite Bravo celebrities. And if you want to hear all about that, please head on over to my Patreon because it's pretty funny, her answers and my reactions. And I just can't seem to fucking escape Bravo no matter what I do. But I'm going to say this. Eden is truly the personification of hard work. She has never stopped. She, like, literally nothing stands in her way. She's kind, she's curious and courteous. She is intimidating because she's so beautiful, but her vibe and her heart, and again, really like her talent and work ethic is just so lovable and endearing. And I love her music and I love her. And I'm so glad you got to meet her if you don't know her already, which I'm sure some of you guys do. But check out her new song. It is so good. The music video is insane. We'll link it in the show notes so that you can check it out. But it's so important in times like now with the writer's strike, with the SAG strike, that we support indie artists. Like I was on Threads and somebody wrote, how do we support artists in this time? And like, what should we do? And I think the reality of it is it's like, share people's music, find people, you know, like, whatever, like in your hometown, like stream all day, every day by Eden. Go on her YouTube channel, write her a note. Hell, go on my podcast and give me 5 stars. Write a review. Tell your homie, yo, I love Liz Cully, or I love Eden, or I love whoever. Word of mouth is so important. And I think I often forget to do it because I'm like in my phone and I'm just like listening to what I'm listening to. I'm also like horrible at just listening to the same fucking records from the 90s and early 2000s. So I also am reminding myself of this. But I think the more recommendations you can give and sharing, like even if it's a recipe, like if you love something or if you see a food blogger that you love, like fucking share it and spread the wealth. Because like I was saying at the beginning of the episode, I think the entertainment industry, the music industry can feel so top heavy. And it can sometimes feel like the only people in the world making songs are 5 people, or the only people that ever star in films are like 5 people. But that's not true. And it's up to all of us to make sure, the love just goes around.